Hello and welcome to the ongoing AS and A-level Python series, and in this episode we are going to be looking at Boolean operators. So you might realize that we have an episode that we actually looked at Booleans, and we were looking at the relational operators and how they can yield Boolean true or false, is it? But now I wanted to do this episode separately because I think I might have done an oversight in that episode. Because Python actually comes with the standard Boolean or rather logic expressions that you would find, is it, in logic gates. So you have the AND, the OR, and the NOT is sort of like the basic building logic statements, as it were. So Python actually has these operators, and that's what we want to look at in this episode. So maybe let's start by looking at the AND operator, and in order for us to do that, let's actually have maybe say let's declare a variable called is registered and set that to true. Then let's actually have let's also have another one. Let's say here's an account, another Boolean code is an account, and we'll set this one to true. So now, since we've looked at conditionals, right, maybe let's say this is a program that's going to allow to a user to maybe be registered with a particular service, and they also need to have a bank account, is it? So maybe this particular service is maybe like you're doing an e-commerce website, right? And you want to make sure that first of all the user has to register at the site, and when they have registered with the site, they also need to include a bank account. So we can actually do that. Let's say if is registered and has an account, right, we can then say please select the items that you wish to purchase. So maybe this is an e-commerce website, right, and the user can actually be looking at items on the website, and if they're interested in a particular item, they can just add it to the shopping cart. So we first have to check if the user is registered with the website, and also if they have an account, is it? So else we can then check to see if is registered is equal to true, right? Then we can then say you need to have a bank account, or you need to include a bank account, right? Alternatively, if is registered is false, it means that we need to tell the user that they need to have what? They need to have an account. So you need actually, let's say an account is needed. Should we maybe let's use the word profile, right? A profile is needed in order to what? To use this website, right? So let's actually go ahead and run this and see how this goes. So let's just clear the console, then let's invoke the Python interpreter. Then we want to use the Boolean, we want to run the Boolean operators script, just like that. Okay, if I could just do .py, not .py. Alright, so you see that it's going to say, let me just clear the console one more time, then run that. So you see, right, it says please select the items that you wish to purchase. So coming back to this if else construct, you realize that we are nesting the if statement, right? We have an outer if statement and we have an inner if statement. So maybe let me just explain what's going on right here. So the first if statement, right, checks to see if is registered is true, and has an account is also true. So since both of these are true, right, this is true and this is true, you remember how the Boolean truth table, the Boolean rather the truth table for an AND gate, which is it? Yeah, it's only going to yield a value of 1 or a value of true if both inputs are true. So in our particular case, we have two inputs, right? So the first input is true, the second input is what? Is true. So it means that we are going ahead to what? We are going to run this code because we have satisfied both conditions. Otherwise, if we change maybe this one to false, you realize that we are no longer going to be able to run this, but you run either one of these two statements. So let's actually see which one is going to be run. So if you do that, you realize that it says you need to have a bank account, not bank account, as I typed there. So you need to have what? You need to have a bank account to use the particular service. So that's how that works. So what's happening in this case is that it's actually first checking to see if both of these conditions are true, right? And of which you realize that has an account, it's false. So this particular customer doesn't have an account. So it's actually going to run the else. But within the else, it's actually first going to check to see if it's registered is true. So it's registered is actually set to true right here. So it's going to tell the user that you need to have a bank account in order for you to use the service. Then if we so this is how you can use an AND operator, right? You are just comparing to see if two particular conditions have been met or have been satisfied. Then maybe let's actually move on to let me just comment out this code. Let's move on to look at the OR operator. So maybe let's say if is registered or as an account, right? So maybe let's say we've actually changed the restrictions for our website, right? We actually just now making it so that if either you should have an account or you should be registered with the website, is it? So you can actually do that by using the OR operator, in which case we just want at least one condition to be to be true. So that's how that goes. So coming back here, let's say you should have an account or be registered. So maybe let's just change this to you should have a bank account or be registered, right? Let's go ahead and run this. Maybe let's just clear the console, then run that, and you realize that it's going to print welcome. So the reason why it's printing welcome is because it's registered is set to true, right? And that's all it needs really. If you remember how the OR gate works, right? It's always going to return a true or a high or a true rather, or a value of 1 if at least one of the inputs is true. So in this case, it's registered is true, despite the fact that as an account is what is set to false. So that's how that works. Then we can actually say use the not operator, right? So maybe we are saying that maybe let's actually demonstrate how the not operator works with something simple, right? I'm not going to use a conditional for this one, so I'm just going to print not is registered, right? Then I'm going to come down here, and you realize that it's going to print what? It's going to print false. So you realize that the current value of is registered is true, but because we've used the not operator, it's going to negate or it's going to flip whatever value is in there. So that's why we are getting what? We are getting false down there. So I think that's just about it for the Boolean operators in Python. Yeah, I'll see you in the next one.